Welcome to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, powering the good in our community. And with that in mind, we're honored to kick it off talking about the Benjamin L. Hooks Institute for Social Change with the University of Memphis. We have Daphene McFerren, she's the executive director, and Thomas Flippen, he's the board chair, both obviously with the Benjamin L. Hooks Institute for Social Change. How are you two doing?
Doing well.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks,
so let's start with a little bit of history and context, because you all do a lot, and obviously for the times that we're in, it's extremely relevant work, both education, advocacy, creating social change. There's a lot that goes into, but Daphene, let's start on your end. Give us a little bit of a history for the Hooks Institute.
The Hooks Institute was started by Benjamin L. Hooks. He's a native Memphian and icon here in Memphis in 1996. For over 25 years, we've been involved with the community through university scholarship, community engagement, preservation of civil rights history, and addressing systemic issues with organizations here in Memphis, as well as others across the country.
When you talk about the work that you do, how do you, because you all do so much, how do you grade success? Like, what are the success metrics that you kind of look at to start realizing, like, where are we moving the needle? How are things going? What are those metrics that you're looking at?
So I'll give you two examples. One of the things that we focus on here is using the scholarship of faculty in furtherance of community change, and also directly engaging with our community. So one of the things we do is the publication of the Hooks Institute policy papers. We look at poverty, health disparities, voting. For example, in September, all the issue is going to be devoted to voting. Tennessee is 49th in the country in voter turnout and 45 in voter registration. And there are additional impediments for people being able to register to vote, but we need to explore that when we're coming last in the country in terms of participating in the electoral process. So those policy papers and that research recently has been used to train employees of the U.S. Department of Justice who were located across the country. And we addressed some of the issues that were happening here in Memphis, some of the proposals that we think might ameliorate some of these racial disparities. But it was important to have them understand, both from a quantitative and qualitative point of view, what the numbers are in Memphis, what are the social issues, and what leads to some disruption, including the issue of policing. So an additional program, and one that our board chair, Thomas Flippen, is especially devoted to, is our Hooks African American Male Initiative program. That program is focused solely on increasing the retention and graduation rates of African American male students here at the University of Memphis. African Americans are about 65% of the population of Memphis. And although improving dramatically, the graduation rates for African American males is substantially below where it should be in comparison to our population. So we've had a lot of success with that program. The program maximum capacity is 50 African American men on campus. We focus on education, financial literacy, academic accomplishments, career goals, and basically how to navigate as a person of color and a male person of color in society.
Thomas, go ahead and carry that forward, because obviously this is a personal passion for you and calling. And so dive in a little bit deeper in terms of how this works and your personal view of this and importance of it.
You know, I thank you so much. I'm very inspired in helping young men, especially of color, to maximize their potential. And I had that opportunity when I was going to Fisk University many years ago, given the guidance and an opportunity to be successful, especially in the business world. And with our HAMI project, we have a lot of dynamic young men. In fact, the program has 57 young men, and I'm pleased to announce that 14 of them made the Dean's List. So the work that Daphene and her team has done has been phenomenal in ensuring they have a voice, they have a vision, and they keep the passion to excel. And I tell you what, I'd also say with our board, they're very engaged in helping Daphene and the team achieve their mission, helping these young men in the HAMI, but also the other two buckets we have in the Hooks Institute.
Talk about the ripple effect, because I look at this as how do you change the world one person at a time, one small action at a time? And I feel like a big part of this is creating a ripple effect. It's engaging the number that's manageable at the time, but allowing and empowering them to then create even more change, and ultimately over time create a large ripple effect.
Right. I think if we were talking about investment, we would call it compound interest. So if each of our young men in these program, in the HAME program, have families of 3 or 4 people, how many people are impacted by their success? And that's just their immediate family, because we also focus on the responsibility of contributing to the community. And so although I and my staff, Rory Trammell is the director of the HAME program, you know, that's 2 people in the office among many who work on the HAME program, but look at the impact that, for example, Rory has on the 50 young men, or the office employees have on the 50 young men. One of the university officials said to me once, he said, Daphne, years from now, these young men are going to come back and thank you all for the investment of time, energy, and effort into their careers, and how you fundamentally change for the better the course of their lives. And so our goal is for them to experience that success. And for us, you know, we're not going to necessarily see it. We see it when they graduate. We're very excited. But this is an investment for 20, 30, 50, 70 years down the road. And we are pleased to know that that investment is going to bear fruit, even though we may not see all the fruit it bears.
Talk about the documentaries and what I would say is kind of the really international scope in terms of the reach of sharing stories, but ultimately, once again, going back to social justice and inspiring change.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, Memphis is a critical destination for the study of civil rights. It is the cross-section of the Memphis sanitation worker strike, the voter registration efforts in Fayette County in 1959 that led to international and national attention. So when we were founded by Dr. Hooks, one of his passions was to make sure that people understood the history and the struggle of civil rights. So our mission includes, we're specifically tasked with preservation of civil rights history. So some of the big things that we've done include the documentary Duty of the Hour, which is on the life of Ben Hooks, which has been aired on WKNO here in Memphis, as well as KCET Los Angeles, which is the 2nd largest public television station in the country. We won the Congressional Black Caucus Award for the film, and we also got director citation for the New Jersey Black Film Festival. It's called Black because the barn is black where they hold the festival. We've also have put into circulation a film on the voting rights in Fayette County, Tennessee. We've done a documentary short, about 15 minutes, on the life of Ida B. Wells. That is on YouTube and has had over 230,000 views alone. We are in post-production now on a feature-length film, over an hour, on the life of Ida B. Wells. And that film has generated so much interest that we've been contacted by PolitiFact to verify. PolitiFact is the award-winning reporting organization that fact-checks media and for Facebook. And they asked for our input on a statement on the social media that was circulating that Ida B. Wells wasn't being recognized because she was a Republican. So if you understand African-American history, or even the history of the Republican Party, that was an absurd allegation that they took a lot of time to explain. And they quoted the Hooks Institute, as well as Hannah Nicole Jones, who won the Pulitzer for the 1619 Project. So obviously we were very proud to be included in that number. Absolutely.
When you look at the time period that we're in, and obviously when you talk about social justice, this is a long process and movement. In other words, this has been going on for a long period of time. And so when you look at now, I think the critical juncture that we're in, how do you look at now relative to the past? And kind of, in other words, how do you frame the time period that we're in right now? And obviously the importance of the work that you do.
I'm going to quote Coretta Scott King on this. She said, freedom is lost and won, and I'm paraphrasing here, in every generation. What she meant was every generation has to continue to advance the ball for racial equality and human equality. And we're in a moment that is transformative. And I do think this is a different moment. And I think we have to give credit to the Black Lives activist movement, and also a lot of allies, including the white community, especially the young white community, who have partnered with protesters to demonstrate the systemic inhumane treatment of African Americans by police and by institutional practices. So we have to seize this moment to make this country live up to its highest principle that all people are created equal. And so seizing this moment just doesn't happen in the last 3 months. You have to have organizations like the Hooks Institute who are on the front lines for years on these issues. And so when they explode, people tend to look at places like the Institute oh, this is an exciting moment for you to get engaged. No, you have to prepare for the battle before the battle takes place. And so we have been preparing for the intellectual and moral battle of equality for 25 more years, just like other organizations. So that's the moment that our research, that our efforts from the staff, that our efforts from the board, that the task that our board chair tries to reach out to the community and engage people in our work, so that this work continues and that we are able to seize this moment, not because this moment occurred in the last 3 months, but because we've been working toward this moment for decades.
Yeah, I like that analogy. If you have to prepare for the battle before the battle is at your doorsteps, basically. For each one of you, talk about how the public can help. I think that's the next logical question in this is, okay, how do we help your efforts? So for each one of you, from your perspective, how do we help?
I'll go first, Daphne. I think number one, donations, so we can expand our programs and do even more and have greater impact. In fact, as we look at 2021, the challenges are going to be there on fundraising. So donations, energy, and networking is going to be very important moving forward. The other thing is follow us on social media. Share some of the great things we're doing and some of the needs we're trying to address. And last but not least, if you would like to work with the Hooks Institute on a committee or be a part of our board, we have a very dynamic, diverse board with various backgrounds. Come help us achieve the mission that we're trying to go for. Nice.
Daphne, what would you add to that?
I thank you, Thomas. Additionally, what I would add is that it's important that people get engaged in this moment. And I know people are struggling for ways on how to engage. So all of our activities, now they were public prior to COVID-19, were open to the public, but we're also doing these activities in the fall on Zoom. And we are covering everything from prior to the election for voter registration. We're looking at Black Lives Matter and policing. You know, most people, I think, don't focus on the fact that Black Lives Matter is focused on all Black Lives Matter, including the LGBTQ community. So we're taking a look at that. We have our National Book Award event in October, and that award is given to a book that best furthers the legacy of the American Civil Rights Movement. We have plenty, and I've been asked this in the wake of Floyd, like, how do I learn about the issues? And one great place to start is our website. All of the materials, for the most part, that we publish are on our website. We have connecting websites that give additional information about the history of the struggle for the civil rights in Memphis and Fayette County and the nation. And people should look at those materials and feel free to contact us, because we do reach out. We do community engagement in schools. We've done a lot of that. We speak to local community groups. We've done the Rotary. We've done other sorts of organizations. And I think what I would tell the listeners is think of ways for the listeners themselves to think about how they could improve their own personal engagement with the community. And what are the areas in terms of their own education, their willingness to engage with people unlike them. And then look to the Hooks Institute to provide sort of a framework for how we've done it and the issues we've identified, so that everyone in the community becomes a better citizen. And as Thomas said, work like this requires dollars. And organizations and nonprofits have been hurting in the view of, in light of COVID-19 and closures and donations are down. So don't forget too that there are some people who will say, I would prefer to financially support your organization, and we would be thrilled to have that level of support.
We'll talk about, because as you mentioned, you're putting out a ton of great content on your website, on your YouTube channel. So you have a lot of access points that I agree that people can go and learn and dive in and be enriched, but also to be empowered. Talk about your website, social media. Where do we go?
So we have we call it edutainment. We have videos on civil rights history, also events that we've held at the Hooks Institute, including speeches with everyone from Julian Bond to Benjamin Jealous, students who have recorded ways to engage and looking at Memphis history are all on our YouTube channel, and it's called Ben L. Hooks Institute, and that's on YouTube, so people can subscribe to that. The easiest way to engage is Facebook, I think. Because we post all of our events and activities and news articles that we find are relevant to contemporary issues on Facebook. In addition, we do Twitter, we do Instagram, we are on all social media. So all of those are available to the public, and people can connect with us in those ways. And they can call us.
And
they can email us.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you make it very, very easy. And on online, it's memphis.edu/Ben Hooks is an easy way to find you as well. And Ben Hooks Institute is Facebook. So you make it very easy to find you. And like you said, you're putting out a ton of great information. So Daphne, Thomas, thank you for all you and your team do. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.